Good evening. Thank you, Patrick, for your introduction. As Patrick mentioned, my name is Eliza Brinkley, and I'm grateful to be able to honor my dad tonight by just briefly, I emphasize briefly, sharing a bit about him from a daughter's perspective. As Patrick mentioned, I'm currently in seminary, preparing to hopefully become ordained one day. So I spend a good deal of time thinking about faith, specifically Christianity, as that's my own faith, and how Christians live out their faith in the world. One of the Christian theologians that I've been the most influenced by is a man named Thomas Merton, who was an American Trappist monk in the mid-20th century. One of the spiritual concepts Merton really pioneered was the idea that we each have two selves. We have our small self, and we have our big self. Our small self is our self that is, in a sense, more surface level. It's the self that is perhaps best represented by our resumes or our social media profiles. It's the self that most of us, if we're being honest, spend the majority of our time trying to build up, because it's the self that the world seems to care about. Our appearance, our accomplishments, how we're special or stand apart from others. The big self, however, is the self that, in Merton's view, God really cares about. It's the self that is far more complicated than what is found on our LinkedIn profiles or on our bio on the company website. It's not that our small selves don't, in a lot of ways, point to our big selves, but in the end, they are only a small, narrow snapshot of who we are. Our big selves comprise the entirety of our complex nature, what our real passions are, how we live into our emotions, our relationships, and our faith, and yes, what our gifts and talents are, though not because of how they make us special, but rather because they are things we really, truly care about. I've spent a lot of my life admiring my dad for his academic, professional, musical, and other accomplishments. But as I've grown and seen him for who he is as a full human being, what I've come to cherish more about him is his big self, the person he really is on a deeper level, the people and things he really cares about, which are the real roots of anything he's ever worked for. Much of what he values, which he in turn got from his own parents and grandparents, has been passed down to me and my siblings. It is because of my dad that I have an appreciation for the spiritual and emotional power of music, a deep respect for social and educational institutions that serve the public good, a love for our state and for our country, and most important of all, an abiding love for and commitment to family and friends. It is this last one that, as his daughter, has made the most of an impression on me. When you live in the same house with someone for over 20 years, you get to know the real fullness of who they are. I've watched my dad go through the same seasons of life that we all experience, the smooth sailing and the rough going. But it's clear to me that what's never changed throughout all of it is his deep love for me, for my brother and sister, and for my mother. His love for us is evident in the same ways as they are for anyone who loves their family, in the way that he encourages us to do what fulfills us, in the big and small ways he shows up and supports each of us in our individual life journeys, and in his willingness to be vulnerable, even when it's not easy. So, Dad, I see you over there. I want you to know how glad I am, how glad I think we all are, that you were born and that you're alive to be the person in the world that God created you to be. Keep being yourself, and by that I mean your big self, and know that I love you very much. Thank you.
music. And please, Linda. This is my dear friend and duo partner, Linda Gordon-Gordsky. You have some program notes that I hope are in your seat and that you'll find maybe of a little bit of interest as we play for you. I try to set these pieces in some context, but just for the moment, Linda and I met through the agency of Christ Church Raleigh, which we were both communicants of, during the pandemic. And I was just chatting with Ruth earlier about the pandemic. We focus on its great difficulties, and there undoubtedly are many. But there are also blessings that came to us in the pandemic, and our relationship as musicians together has been an enormous gift in my life. And we've just had many, many hours of joy and pleasure working together on pieces and having the chance to present them to groups of people like you all. And so that's what we're here to do. What we will do is play the Schumann Adagio and Allegro, our first piece. That's an oboe and piano piece. I'll then hand the oboe to someone who will kindly hold it for me. Maybe Bland can hold the oboe. And we will play some four-hand piano music of Antonin Dvorak, two Slavonic dances. And then I'll get the oboe back, and we'll perform a work by Wayne Barlow called The Winter's Past. And after that, we'll play one more four-hand work by Edvard Grieg, a Norwegian dance of Grieg. So that's the plan for the music, and if I can see if one of these reeds will play, you know, you never know. Anything can happen.
I called him in the program notes something that he has deserved and earned this evening for the 1500th time, I'm sure. A maestro of elegance, and in our case, in stewardship of the society, of the law profession in North Carolina, and of the UNC School of Law. Thank you very much.
It's the custom of the recipient of the award to speak very briefly, and I will do so. I'm exceedingly grateful to each and every one of you for being here. You are my dear and friends for whom I am so thankful, and that you would give an evening to me in this way is be something I remember for the rest of my life. Thank you. I want to talk about three people. We've not said much tonight about my own involvement with the North Caroliniana Society, which is just fine. But I need to recognize the person who brought me to my very first North Caroliniana Society Award dinner in 1990, when the recipient was Lawrence London, and that's Pickett Guthrie, who is over here. Pickett, would you stand up for me, please? I would have not gotten as involved as I did in the society were it not for two individuals, one of whom thankfully is with us, and the other of whom is not. H.G. Jones was the founder and leader of this society for the best part of 40 years, and in 2006, he asked me to take on the job of treasurer of the society, which I did. And then I succeeded him as secretary of the society, and those two jobs were joined together, I believe, in 2010. And so I served in those roles for a while. None of that would have happened if it was not for Willis Richard. Justice Richard was my law school teacher, has been my dear friend for all this time. He asked me to join the board of the society. I can't remember exactly when, maybe around the year 2000, and then he and I worked together as officers as HG was winding down the service. And so, Bill, if you would stand and be thanked by me. And with that, I'm very grateful.
Godspeed and take care.